Good morning, sisters and brothers in Christ. Happy Father's Day to the fathers here present and to those viewing and to those fathers who aren't here with us but who are in our hearts. Amen? So, this morning's homily inspires a lot in me. And that comes because of the readings which inspired a lot in me. So I'm going to start off by saying that during my recent vacation to the Dominican Republic, if you remember, I went just before Corpus Christi. I spent 8 days there. And whilst there, I was reminded of how wonderful it is to be received warmly with open arms. Beloved, when we are received like that, it goes beyond making us feel welcome. It is an affirmation of the value of our life. It identifies worth in who we are and in the roles that we play in each other's lives. And so, during those days, I was welcomed as Stephan, as a friend, brother, son, colleague. But I was also welcomed as father. You see, there was lots of love and depth in each welcome, either because I had shared relationships with these people as a seminarian, or because I was now a priest in a country where priests are revered, where priests are reverenced and loved. And I must say, it felt good. It felt good, especially when people who I had never met before would warmly walk up to me and acknowledge me and go out of their way to ensure that I was comfortable because I am a priest. And they called me Father. I am not ashamed to say to you that I experienced a deep, great and profound sense of self-worth in being called Father. I experienced it then, and I experienced it when you called me Father. But there is a difference. Because sometimes, some people call us Father and we are unsure what they mean. Some people disguise it even. There's a trend in Trinidad and Tobago now of Catholics call them priest padre. None of them talk Spanish, by the way. I wonder why. You see, one of the things that I noticed there was that when those people uttered the name Father, it was spoken with great pride and confidence and authenticity. Not because of the relationship with the individual, but because of the understanding of what that meant. What the word means. And this meaning is so powerful, sisters and brothers, that so many of these people in uttering this name Father were willing to act contrary to their prejudices. You see, in the Dominican Republic, if you look like me, you are hell to face. Black people don't have an easy time over there. Just in case you didn't know. And such is the power. Such is the power of that name, that word. That people who would usually understand people dark like me as the enemy, as a threat, would even desire to bow before me and kiss my hands because I am Father. Beloved, I say this to you because I believe these experiences which I share, having shared deep prejudice in many countries, including the Dominican Republic, having friends, Haitians, priests, and others who experience prejudices because of the color of their skin. And seeing this, it inspires within me a sense of what God is doing and what we're being called to do, because we celebrate today Father's Day. And do we celebrate with an understanding of the meaning of that name, of who our Father is? We celebrate on Thursday coming, World Refugee Day. I speak to you of the power of that welcome, of walking into saying to you, hey, this is your house. And when they say that, they mean it. I look at people give up their bedroom so that you could come and sleep comfortable at the best in the house. And I ain't just talking about when I went the other day. I'm talking about all those years ago as a seminarian. There is something that we need to look at, sisters and brothers, because God is speaking to us through these experiences. He's speaking to us through these readings. They are very relevant to today and to the society because we, sisters and brothers, are not. We are not paying attention. We celebrate Father's Day today, and I don't go in the mall and think much, but I'm sure if I walk through there today, I will still see Mother's Day sale. And these poor fathers and them, it's better we say happy SUV day. All you know is SUV, right? Socks, underwear, and vest. It's better we say happy SUV day than we say happy Father's Day. Because you're sure to get breakfast or lunch, and if you get something, it's a jockey shorts. Or are you laughing but say something wrong? Beloved, do we understand? Do we understand? Because the readings that we have today are extremely powerful. They speak to us. They speak to us of an oracle of salvation, of the reality of how God works in our lives. They speak to us about a reversal that God carries out. And you see, we have to look at it because we're not allowing that to take root within us. Ezekiel speaks to us about the weakest part of a tree. The weakest part of a tree. The gospel speaks to us of the smallest seed. Those things that are vulnerable. Those things that are often discarded. Those things that need protection themselves if they are to grow. Think of a man, think of a father in that aspect. Because we are vilifying and breaking down and degrading. And we are causing young boys not to want to be fathers. Not to even want to be men. Because of the way society is treating males. We call it people pennies. And if you ever love me in life and ever wanted to do something to please me, stop using that word, please. Because it is the most derogatory word that a Venezuelan exile in a foreign land could hear. When we weaponize their nationality to break them down, to separate them, to say that they are not like us, to prejudice them. Because think that when you hear that word, you don't have nothing good to follow it. Then when you come to take remand. I say something wrong? You see a red woman pass, and you ain't sure whether she Indian, she Creole, she whatever else. Then Benny again. Beloved, we are being called to look at the reality and to look at the responsibility because they, just like our men, just like our fathers, they are the vulnerable that needs to be strengthened by God's care. They are the weak that are picked and transplanted and put through the reality of the circumstances of growing, that which the gospel says to us, we do not see and know. When that seed is planted, all we know is that eventually it grows or it dead. We ain't sure about the in-between and what happening below this dirt. But there is honor in what happens below the dirt. That is where God acts. That is where God has the ability to transform and to make strong. And are we, sisters and brothers, recognizing that and living for that reversal? Are we encouraging our men, our boys? Are we training them that fatherhood is something to be honored, to be desired? Are we training them that this is what that word means, so that people who utter it will utter it with confidence and trust and love? Are we welcoming people who come to our shores, who, by the way, many of them die during the course of the journey, running from death? And I'm very serious when I say that word. Running from death in their homeland. And sometimes dying on the way just to have a chance at life. And then we discriminate and prejudice them, those who are vulnerable and need to be cared for. Are we paying attention, sisters and brothers? Because this is what we are being encouraged to do. This is why we commemorate Father's Day. This is why we commemorate World Refugee Day, so that we will bring to mind the reality of what is necessary to help us to stop and reflect on what we're doing. Because the SUV joke and the fact that you could find more Mother's Day sale in June than you could find Father's Day sale is a problem. And I say this understanding the depth of the irony that June is Men's Mental Health Month. And I wonder how many even of the men here know that. Because if I was to stand up and cry here now, you will watch me like a soft man. And it's not the man that will watch me so. It's the woman. And if I am to express a deep emotion, to share fear, to demonstrate anxiety, use that man. And mind you, that's how we continue to raise our boys. And while we're raising them like that, they don't want to even be men. Because the dominant narrative right now on the internet, for those who know, is that women claim to feel safer in the forest with a bear than they would be with a man. I got to be a strange man. Any man could be a man in. Imagine the reality that we live in. Imagine the reality that we live in. When today we celebrate Father's Day. And if you don't trust me, Google it and find out the high percentage of women who don't trust me. And they're raising boys to be what? Sisters and brothers, I speak not oblivious or naive to the reality of what maleness is right now. I speak not oblivious to the reality of how difficult many of your relationships have been with your fathers and with the men in your lives. I speak as one who understands that if we don't encourage, if we don't support, and if we don't work with God for that reversal, then the ones who are vulnerable amongst us will never become strong. I want on this Father's Day to encourage you to love the men around you. Pray for them. Encourage them. Understand that when they struggle to show emotion, it's because that's what they have learned. And help to teach them something new. Understand that when they give you all the bad behavior, that they also learn. And they didn't just learn it from their father, but they learned it from their mother too. Beloved, each and every one of us needs to take responsibility. Because when we don't show our boys a different way, they learn exactly what we did. I speak with great gratitude for those who ensured that I would have a relationship with my father. Because it wasn't easy. So when I tell you I talk from experience, I know what I'm talking about. I bless God for my mother every day because she was the one who took her money to ensure that At first we could visit, and then we didn't want to go again. She was the one who took you in your side to say, call your father. I give thanks to God for my Archbishop. Because before he consented to ordaining myself and my brothers as priests, he said, you all need to have a relationship with your father. If you don't have a relationship with your father, well, then you have no idea what it means to be a father. After 20 years of not seeing him, I was able to go. And it wasn't easy. And all I wanted to do was to hit him up. And the sad thing about it is that lash that I wanted to hit him wasn't just because of my pain, which was a reality. But it was because I was carrying the pain on my mother. And though I love her sisters and brothers, mothers, daughters, sisters, do not transfer your pain onto your children. Do not do it. Because my pain was insignificant compared to the pain of my mother and my sister and my brothers and everybody else who did vex with them. I mean, by the time I was able to recognize that, those tears that flowed were so healing. And I was able to say, I forgive you. I was able to say, after he spoke to me about the relationship that he struggled with his father, that I understand why he was so horrible a father to me. And I didn't say that to be malicious, because he actually was a better father to me than his father was to him. Sisters and brothers, if we don't do that work, if we don't recognize when we see our sisters and our brothers coming from strange lands and look at them and see the trauma, one of the things that I have been seeing and asking for investigation in my work in that ministry in the Archdiocese, sisters and brothers, is to investigate why newborn Venezuelan babies are not latching. They're not drinking breast milk from their mothers. Why? Because this is not a cakewalk. The trauma that their parents feel, they feed on. We need to look at people and see people. We need to look at people and be welcoming. We need to look at people and provide a space where when they walk in, they feel affirmed in their humanity. Because greater than the word father is the word human, sisters and brothers. Greater than the word father is the word human. And today, as we celebrate fatherhood, I would prefer if we celebrate the humanity of our men, because we don't treat them like if they're human. I would prefer if we celebrate the humanity of the thousands of refugees and migrants on our shores, in our region, throughout the world, because we don't treat them like they're human. And yet our liturgy today calls us to reflect. To those who are trying their best, I want to encourage you to continue trying. To those who are seeing the struggles of the men in their lives, and who, despite the difficulty of relating with them, remain faithful, pray, and are patient, I encourage you to continue. To those who have difficulty forgiving the hurts that you have received and experienced, I invite you, I encourage you to go to God in prayer and to ask Him to do what only He could do for you, so that you would forgive, so that you would love. To the men who have struggles and difficulties because of the fact that they weren't who they were supposed to be in their marriages, in their families. Those who feel unworthy and unlovable because of what they did and because they don't want to receive, I encourage you to pray and to ask for forgiveness and to go every day if you need to and kneel at their feet and say, I am sorry. And I'm willing to wait until you're ready to accept that apology because you can't force them. Today is a word of encouragement. Today is encouragement that we will be human and hospitable to each other. Today is God's invitation for us to work for that reversal in our lives. Because those who are weak are made strong, sisters and brothers. Look at our readings. But those who feel they're strong, they're made weak. That Ephraim, that's Ezekiel who said that. So all who standing on unforgiveness, all who standing on isolation and separation, all who don't care and who lock off, and all who couldn't give a remember that you who believe you're strong, God will render that which is bringing you to wither. The Lord Himself will do it. And we pray for fathers today and for father figures. And when these fathers pray for themselves, let us ask God's love and mercy upon them. Let us be supportive. Let us be compassionate. And let us work so that the young fellas around us, like Rachel who came and read so powerfully, would have an image of what it means to be a man in the future, what it means to be a father, and that he would be a good father to somebody, despite the fact that he didn't have that experience as a boy seeking a father. Sorry for using you without your permission. That's what we need. And that is what will change our world. I want to invite you to just take a moment of silence. If your father is alive or dead or in relationship with you, just call them to mind. The fathers in your life, your brothers who are fathers, your cousins who are fathers, your friends who are fathers, call them to mind. The father figures in your life, call them to mind. The men that you know who are struggling with fatherhood, call them to mind. The men who desire to be fathers and who for one reason or the next are unable to, call them to mind. And in whatever way you choose, offer them to God in this moment, in that silence. And allow God to work. And trust in Him that the harvest will be fruitful, even though we can't see what is taking place during the process.